Hello, welcome to this Voice of MPE podcast. I'm your host, Francesco Burelli. I'm a partner at Arkwright Consulting, and with us we have a very interesting guest today.
Hi everyone. My name is Marco Conte, and I'm the founder of Congrify, a company that has been acquired by IXOPAY. And at IXOPAY, I'm a VP for products, data, and AI insights. Nice to be here.
Thank you for being here. Great to have you. To start with, I would like to know how you see the acquiring industry changing and evolving. What has happened over the last few years that has really caught your attention, that you think is really, really interesting, that acquirers on one side and merchants on the other side should keep in mind?
That's a really interesting question. In the payments industry, obviously, if I go back a few years ago, I saw a lot of acquirers which were looking at capturing volume from the entry point. For example, like acquirers building payment gateways. And even if you will ask in the industry, people had difficulties in distinguishing between an acquirer and a payment service provider. Or, it would be the same. Like if you are a Stripe or Adyen, you have a gateway and you're an acquirer. But if you look at it now, things are evolving where acquirers sometimes are focusing more on the acquiring business. So with the, let's say, entrance and the importance of orchestrators, for example, they know that somebody else is going to initiate the transaction from a technical point of view. So they look at more like the supporting specific markets, for example, money licenses and similar. So this is what I've seen over the last years, or the last 2 years in particular, with the movements you've seen as well in the markets, merges and similar things. Where the shift has changed a little bit. Well, not everybody has to build the technology. It's fine to be more on the, let's say, on the money flow side.
Thank you. And within this change, what is the most critical capability that is needed to succeed?
It's a great question. It really, let's do one step back. It really depends on who is the customer on the other side, right? So what are they looking for? How do they define success, right? So if you are a merchant and you want to process payments, depending on the industry vertical that you are involved, for you, simply accepting payments might be success. Let's imagine high risk industries. They just want to have acquirers that can support them. And what is the problem for them? Not having an acquirer being fine with certain chargeback rates or risk of refunds. For some other industries where, let's say, the risk is lower, they look at conversion rates and they look at how good are acquirers in specific markets to build relationships with the local ecosystem. So, for example, with major issuers. So they care about an approval rates on issuing bank level, and they benchmark the acquirers one from the other. Because if you are a leading acquirer in the UK, you need to go and talk with the major neobanks, ensuring that they are not going to penalizing you during an authorization or when a transaction is being approved. So it really depends on the industry vertical, right? But especially for the larger enterprise merchants, I would say that they go really deep now, looking at their data to see why for acquirer A, the approval rates on an authorization level is 85%, and why for acquirer B is 87% for the same transaction types, because the perception of the risk is different. So I think this is quite different definition of success that you can have depending on the customers.
Thank you. And in this increasing level of complexity, what are the pitfalls?
I was having a conversation a few minutes ago on it's 2026. Payments is complex as ever. Each year you never expect more complexity to come in, and now with agentic commerce questions and other things, it's you really realize that the complexity is huge. And on the other side, you want to accept payments, you are a merchant, you're a company, and then you need to make sure that you don't encounter certain risks from a vendor management perspective. So back in the years, you have seen acquirers just shutting down for a reason or another reason. And then companies discovered that they actually need to be multi-acquirer. It's like, a basic thing. But it's surprising if you go to certain markets like, the US, North America, really large companies, we talk about billions and billions of US dollars process, still relying on one or two acquirers. So I would start from there, where if you don't have a multi-acquirer or multi-gateway or multi-PSP, we can define the best terminologies. That's already the biggest red flag or biggest risk that something might go bad. And in 2026, like not having a multi-acquirer strategy or a multi-PSP strategy, it's quite crazy, like especially on certain volumes. So what I say to people is usually like, it doesn't matter how you want to solve this problem. You want to build, you want to buy, you want to be in the middle with a hybrid approach. You need to be strategic and have this. And it's not sufficient to say, in this region, we only have one acquirer, and then in this other region, we have another acquirer. Even in the same region, you need to have multiple ones. You can't have this risk of somebody, merging with another acquirer, like changing ownership and suddenly changing their strategy. And, as a company, for you, it might take a year or more to migrate from an acquirer to another acquirer. Then it's like card credentials management, it's so many topics there. So definitely, I say like the first risk is you rely on, let's say, the wrong approach. And we have seen the results over the years.
Thank you. Very, very interesting. One of the key topic of discussions today was agentic commerce. So agentic commerce is going to be another channel to the existing channel, but it's somehow different. It's not the same type of channel. Is it really going to change everything, or it is just more of the same?
It is going to change. I really believe that. Now the question is, it's not an if question. It's like, it is going to change, but how and when exactly? So the expectation is it's going to be very, very fast. So now it looks, and it feels slow, because like, I feel that the industry is this kind of trying to understand where it will happen. But once we will see like the first transactions on scale happening, it will be so fast. And that's why like everybody, behind the scenes is preparing. There is a bit of, I don't say confusion, but there are iterations happening on the protocols side, because it's evolving very fast. And, at the beginning, we might have thought, actually, people want to go to AI assistants, AI searches by having everything managed there. But is that really the case? Are people, having really the level of trust in storing their card information or, wallet information into an AI company? Or are they preferring actually to have the AI searches behaving as personal assistants, maybe, and going and leaving the final step to the actual users to put card informations or approving a payment? So it is going to happen. It is going to happen. It is happening right now. I always put it on like 4 steps there are. The first step, which already happened, is AI searches. So the AI is searching for the user, finding options. And then the second step is like AI finalizing. So the AI helping to go to checkouts and letting you do the payment. The third step will be AI transacting. So, the person doesn't have to put information. So the question is like, now we are on AI helping you to finalize. When are we going to move to AI transacting, and for what? Because users maybe don't want to have AI transacting for everything, or, it's going to be only for small purchases, or we don't know that yet, but it is going to happen. I think this is a key year to understand the direction, but it's a non-negotiable. Like any company right now is discussing internally, at least on a strategic level. Some are piloting. I would say that by the end of the year, everybody should pilot it. Everybody should have at least, a focused team within the company, different stakeholders, different players, to understand what is the best usage for them and how they're going to be affected. So the checkout is going to change. The relationship with customers might change. The exposure of information, imagine like, terms and conditions. If you buy via an AI search, or like, they're not going to be so visible to users. So quite a few things are going to change. The way that we understand checkouts is not going to be the same anymore.
Thank you. So we are at the very, very start of MP 2026. As a closing remark, what are the things you're looking forward to discuss in these 3 days in Berlin?
So this is an event which is always on my agenda, and I believe for Europe it's probably the best events when it comes to payments because of the diversity of people that you have here. Like you have true payment experts coming here, and the level of discussions is touching the right spots in my opinion. So what I'm looking now over those days, I think is what I've been always looking at this conference. Like you really have meaningful conversations, and my focus right now is heavy on data, on intelligence in payments, on AI and agentic commerce. So that's a part where I really want to understand like what people are seeing. Like I do see these on my daily conversations with ecosystem players, but now it's like on the details, like how people are getting ready for next month, or now the latest announcements from one of the schemes regarding their new identity and trust validation protocol. Are people actually looking into that? How are they reacting? Because as I said before, this is gonna be very fast, and when things are very fast, they can be very exciting. There can be very large opportunities there, but then you want to see how the industry is evolving and how people are adapting to that. So I'm looking to those type of conversations, and I think it's a great time to be in payments. Things are going to change a lot, but when they changed, as I said, opportunities can be there for everyone to go to the next level.
So on that specific note, is a great time to be in payments. We are closing this episode of Voice of MP podcast. Thank you for having been with us, Marco, and recommending and suggesting viewers to look forward to the next episode.
Thank you, Francesco.